Look back at past comments that this president has made. He's used that same terminology many times in reference to men. There's no way that this is sexist at all. This is simply talking about a system that we have that is broken, in which special interests control our government. I think only if your mind is in the gutter would you have read it that way.
Well, that was White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders defending President Trump's eyebrow-raising tweet, which was quickly labeled as sexist by New York Democrat Senator Kirsten Gillibrand. Trump punched back in response to Gillibrand's call for him to actually resign, citing sexual misconduct allegations, claims that the president argues are false and fabricated. Here now to discuss, Gail Trotter, Independent Women's Forum senior fellow and contributor to The Hill, along with Adriana Cohen, Boston Herald radio host and syndicated columnist. Let me start with you, Gail. Obviously, it was another wild scene at the press briefing and a lot of pushing on this particular thing. Do you believe President Trump meant anything sexual or sexist with that tweet?
No, you know, Charles, when everything is a sexist smear, then nothing is a sexist smear. And I think that the president's opponents are just angry that when he's attacked, he punches back. And you know that we're right on the verge of meaningful tax reform. And I think a lot of people looking at this would say that it's just the Democrats' last-ditch effort to derail the tax reform effort. And I think they're trying to tie this news coverage into a call for President Trump to resign, but everyone knows that that's wishful thinking of the highest order.
Right. But it still persists nevertheless. I do want to share with the audience, for folks who may not have seen the tweet, the one that started it all, President Trump tweeting lightweight Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, a total flunky for Chuck Schumer and someone who would come to my office begging for campaign contributions not so long ago and would do anything for them, is now in the ring fighting against Trump. Very disloyal to Bill and Crooked used. All right, Adriana, your thoughts on that. By the way, I should point out to the audience that President Trump used similar language when talking about Mitt Romney during the election year, and even earlier this year during his fight with Bob Corker. So we've seen him use this very same exact language when it came to men as well, when it's come to men.
You're absolutely right, Charles. And that's why it was not a sexist smear, because sexism is when you just direct something towards women with an attempt to, demean women. But back in the campaign trail, President Trump said Mitt Romney would have gotten on his knees for an endorsement. So President Trump has made these types of inferences before to both sexes and to both parties. And with respect to the other part of the tweet calling Senator Gillibrand a lightweight, he also called Marco Rubio a lightweight during the campaign, and Senator Ted Cruz. So clearly this isn't about sexism or party. He just punches back against people who he believes are being unfair to him or political opponents, so to speak. So as a woman, I don't see sexism here, because he's delivered these types of attacks to everyone.
Right. Of course.
Both sides of the aisle.
Now, of course, the backdrop to this is the climate that we're in, and Kirsten Gillibrand actually referenced that, I think, or at least inferred to it. Let's take a listen to what she had to say.
It was a sexist smear attempting to silence my voice, and I will not be silenced on this issue. Neither will the women who stood up to the president yesterday, and neither will the millions of women who have been marching since the Women's March to stand up against policies they do not agree with.
An attempt to silence voices, you see there, Gail?
Yes, that's what she's saying, but nobody is silencing her. She's out there trying to take these news stories to push for an attempt to derail tax reform, and to go out there and say that anyone's trying to silence her is an absurd allegation.
All right, ladies, thank you both very, very much. Meanwhile, Hollywood celebrities are